What's going on, dudes? It's your boy Andy Matrix. I'm back with another one, and man, this is crazy. This is wow. So, a lot of people, a lot of especially passport bros, they want to go overseas to meet, beautiful Asian women, and one of the main places that they go to is obviously China because they got billions of people there, right? But the situation in China is not looking so good. The Chinese government just changed the divorce laws. I wish they would do the same here in America. Not that it would change people's minds, but I think it would be a little better. Um, so Chinese women can no longer get divorced, and as we say here, divorce a man for all his money, his assets, take the house, take the car, keep the kids, take the money, and run. That's over. That is over. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started.
Scares me the most isn't that people born in the 90s won't have children, or that those born in the 2000s won't get married. It's that people born after 1980 are even supporting their children's choice not to marry or have kids. Especially since the new marriage law came out, more people are choosing not to get married or have children. Can you believe it? In the future, no matter how well a woman cleans, cooks, or takes care of the kids, if she doesn't earn money herself, she will end up with nothing after a divorce. This is because the new marriage law protects personal property. If you didn't earn the money, you won't get a penny of it. On February 1st, China's Supreme Court introduced the second judicial interpretation on marriage and family in the Civil Code, known as Marriage 2. On Chinese social media, many people say that Marriage 2 is forcing women to wake up. They argue that the person who earns money gets the protection, that full-time housewives deserve to be treated like workhorses for men, that housework is seen as free labor, and that women cannot expect any compensation for the toll on their health from childbirth.
The housework is seen as free labor. All right, so let's look at it from this point. You are the woman, okay? You get pregnant, you have a baby. Somebody has to take care of the child, and then somebody has to provide. This is where the gender role stuff comes in. The woman has the baby, and of course, the baby came out of her, so her body is built for taking care of the child. So, of course, it's better if she does it. The man who's built up testosterone can go and work 8-10 hours a day to provide for the family. People have seriously forgotten why this works. People think that, oh, we got all this technology, we don't need gender roles. No, God created us for a reason. God created, gender roles for a reason. The reason why it's called traditional is because it freaking works for a reason. You know?
The clickbait headlines have attracted a lot of attention, but they hide a much more complicated and absurd reality. This legal reform is not a savior for anyone, nor is it the end of the world. Instead, it reflects the deep social conflicts and political control in China, showing how the government uses the law to cover up social problems and strengthen its grip.
新婚八解释就是在坑女人。
Article 5 and 8 of Marriage 2 state that whether a house is given by the man to the woman or bought with money from the man's parents, even if the woman's name is on the deed, it can still be awarded to the man. In other words, no matter if the house was bought before or after the marriage, having your name on the property deed doesn't guarantee that you'll get it in a divorce. As long as you paid for it, the house will be yours. That sounds great, especially in a country where it takes the savings of 2 generations to buy a home. But in reality,
Yeah, so basically, just to sum it up, if, let's say, for example, you and your wife, quote unquote, buy a house, like you and your wife, you put both of your names on the house, right? You put both of your names on the house. But if the man is the one financially provided, if he's the one that bought the house, if they get divorced, she cannot claim the house or his assets. Basically, the man's money is protected. This is great. This is great because basically, this is one of the reasons why people say that marriage has become a scam. Because women get married and then they divorce. They divorce because they freaking know that they're going to get a shitload of money from the man on the divorce. And then men get upset and they're like, well, why the heck would I get married if I'm just going to get financially abused? And here we are.
It's not that simple.
你怎么不提第5条第1款？
Why don't they mention the first clause of Article 5? With a prenuptial or postnuptial agreement, even if the woman's name isn't on the house, the property might still be awarded to her. And why don't they talk about the second clause of Article 5? It explains under what conditions a man can take back a house he gave to the woman. For example, if you have a quick marriage and a quick divorce and the man is not at fault, the court will still consider factors like the length of the marriage, whether you had a child, fault, and each partner's contribution to the family. In such cases, the man may be required to compensate the woman. The same logic applies if the house was bought with money from the man's parents. The court will look at whether you had children and your contribution to the family. For those who say that women are being taken advantage of when doing housework and that any loss from childbirth cannot be compensated, Article 21 clearly states that if a woman stays at home to take care of the children, does the housework, and even helps her husband with his work, the court will calculate compensation based on the time and effort invested and its impact, using the local average disposable income. This means that the invisible contribution of full-time housewives are finally being recognized as measurable economic value.
Moreover, after this reform, there is no cap on the compensation amount. It depends on the local income level and the family's financial situation. In wealthier families, housework is considered more valuable, and the compensation awarded in a divorce could be surprisingly high. Take the case in Shanghai, for example. A man took out a 10 million yuan loan before marriage to buy a house. When they divorced, the house went to him, but because the woman stayed home full-time for 8 years to take care of their child, the court ordered a 5 million yuan compensation in her favor. The man kept the house but ended up emptying his savings. If he didn't have cash, the house might have to be sold. With the current weak real estate market, it might not sell for a good price, and in the end, the man could be left in debt, while the woman leaves with money. The clauses are written clearly, but most people don't read them carefully. They prefer to listen to oversimplified summaries, which leads to misleading interpretations from the start. Marriage, too, clearly shows a bias in favor of women. Its root lies in Article 1087 of the Civil Code, which states that in dividing marital property after divorce, priority is given to the children, then to the woman, then to the faultless party, with the woman even taking precedence over the faultless party. Why? Because the government doesn't care about who is right or wrong. What it fears is that women, after a divorce, might be left without money or skills, turning them into a potential social bomb. As a result, men are forced to pay a youth loss fee, and even the property of their parents might be divided by the judge under various pretexts. For instance, in one case, a family with assets of only 300,000 yuan ended up with a woman being awarded 500,000 yuan. The judge simply extracted a childbirth fee from her in-laws' 700,000 yuan house. Just because the house is in his parents' name doesn't make it safe. These moves may be legal, but they're shameless. The government's so-called protection of the weak simply shifts the welfare that should be provided by the state onto individuals. Some people claim that the fact that the property goes to the one who paid for it solves the problem of scam marriages. While that does play a part, the real reason is that judges have always ruled on the idea that a man's money should make up for the woman's share. This isn't the judge's own choice, it's a requirement from above. For several years, cases have been decided this way, and the new law simply gives judges cover so they don't have to take the blame. With more people resisting, some judges have even lost their lives because of it. The new rules merely put those unspoken practices on the table. The 2013 case of Li Dashen in Beijing is a clear example. In Changping, Beijing, there were more than 40 houses on rural land, with the affordable houses valued at 1.96 million and the welfare houses at 1.28 million. After the divorce, his ex-wife took all of the affordable houses, barely leaving him with barely over 10,000 in compensation. It was outrageous, but completely legal. The case was handled by the well-known judge Ma Caiyun, who was later killed in 2016 as a result of extreme backlash from such rulings. Instead of rethinking these decisions, the authorities have now enshrined the bias in the new Marriage 2 rules to protect judges from criticism. Fairness in individual cases simply does not exist. Stability is the top priority. The CCP's laws have never been about true justice. Judges' so-called discretionary
Of
power
course
is
not.
just a mask for political will. Although the clause, the property goes to the one who paid, sounds appealing, in order to ensure the woman's future, the court will still take away the man's premarital assets and even his parents' money. With
Dang.
Social Security unable to help these women, the ex-husband ends up carrying the burden. In first-tier cities, especially in places like Beijing where property is worth millions, middle-class families have long been targeted. Now, even liberal arts graduates from top universities find it hard to secure jobs, and marrying into a wealthy family has become a shortcut. In divorce, these women use claims like lost youth and household contributions to get more money. There are even online posts teaching people how to profit from divorce. For many middle-class
Oh, wait,
families,
wait,
while the
wait, wait,
older
wait, wait, wait. You see that? You see that? You see that? How to profit from divorce. And this is the problem, is that nowadays people have become just so mechanical and so without a soul that they see marriage as just a way to get rich. But I guess, I mean, this has happened before. The king would marry his daughter to another kingdom so that the two kingdoms can unite, I guess. Well, what else is new?
generation saved enough to buy several houses, the next generation might not be able to earn enough to protect that wealth, making them the perfect target.
The new rules set guidelines on betrothal gifts and infidelity. Betrothal gifts go to the woman, and if one partner is unfaithful, they get a smaller share of the property. Any gifts given to a mistress must be reclaimed. This means that even without divorce, property can be divided during the marriage, and if a divorce happens, the husband might receive little or nothing. For the wealthy, this means both the wife and the mistress could end up taking money.
In fact, this makes divorce cases as unpredictable as Schrodinger's cat. Until the verdict is announced, no one knows how much they will lose, and in reality, divorce costs for the rich have increased dramatically. A new trend has emerged online. Since women no longer care only about houses, they now focus on a man's height, looks, intelligence, and emotional skills. What used to be a marriage secured by owning a house now demands you to be over 180 centimeters tall, have an eight-pack, and even know how to speak romantically. Otherwise, no one will be interested. Some people think that these new rules will make Chinese people marry for love like those in developed Western countries. But in developed countries, low divorce rates aren't because the laws are amazing, but because the social safety nets are strong enough to allow marriages to be driven by emotion. In China, if a woman leaves her job to stay at home and finds herself with no means after a divorce, marriage becomes a battleground of interests rather than one based on love. In reality, asking for a house when getting married doesn't mean that the woman is trying to scam the man, and not every man who depends on his partner is deceitful. Some people simply want economic security.
The Chevy Equinox is more
Damn
than
it.
an SUV.
Hold on.
Through housework and childcare, efforts that are just as valuable. The new rules on household compensation protect these contributions and show that society is slowly recognizing the importance of this work. The real shock of China's new marriage law isn't found in the sensational headlines. The truth is that the government is trying to maintain social stability. One of the most common problems in divorces is the snatching and hiding of minor children.
Article 12 and 13 of Marriage 2 makes it clear whoever takes the children loses. Whoever plans to take the kids away loses. It's meant to discourage men from taking their kids.
It's a bit stricter than before, but
Oh, wait a minute. That happens a lot. Those people that they take the kids away from the parents. So if you do that, if they catch you doing that, you lost. You lost the divorce. I mean, that's great. That is great. So gold diggers beware. I also wanted to talk about this because in China, as you know, there's like what 100 million single women over there in China. Basically, what's the word? Unwanted, like undesirable. I forgot the name. 100 million undesirables. Right now. It looks like a lot of Chinese men. Oh yeah, the Chinese leftover women. Yeah, Chinese 100 million Chinese leftover women. So the Chinese men, what they're doing is that they're going to the Philippines and Vietnam to find a wife. Check this out.
These three girls all came from the Philippines to marry guys in China. The pregnant one's my wife. That one's got a kid already too. At this rate, our whole village will end up with Filipino wives. We've got 4 already, and another guy's in the works. He's heading to the Philippines this Christmas to marry his girl and bring her back. In August, a farmer vlogger from western Guangdong revealed that a Filipino woman had married into his village. She's been living in China for 7 to 8 years and is now raising
Nice.
2 children.
我这条村很快
At this rate, the whole village is going to end up with Filipino wives. In a separate video, a vlogger addressed questions from internet users about marrying Filipino women.
At this rate, the whole village is gonna end up with Filipino wives. Oh my god. How embarrassing is that? Like, you're so crappy that you have to be replaced, dude.
很多网友都有这个疑问。
A ton of folks online keep asking, won't those Filipino wives just take off? Let me tell you straight, they won't. Why is that funny? Because in the Philippines, divorce isn't a thing. They've got marriage certificates, but no divorce papers. So, how do you even get divorced? Some people also ask, if you don't speak the same language, how do you talk? Simple, we use WeChat. It's got auto-translate, so chatting's a breeze. No issues there. But here's the real kicker. The worry isn't her running off. It's if you ever want out. Good luck. Divorce isn't happening. Philippine law doesn't allow it. You get a marriage certificate, that's valid everywhere, and you're locked in, can't undo it, not even in China. That certificate's on record worldwide, showing you're hitched. Try marrying someone else? That's bigamy, and it's a crime. So, marry a Filipino girl, and you'll never stress about her leaving. The video triggered widespread online engagement. Viewers from Guangdong, Guangxi, Zhejiang, and other regions commented, asking the vlogger to introduce them to Filipino brides. One user commented, marrying a Filipino wife is a great deal. Chinese wives often avoid cleaning and expect financial support, while a
Wait, dude, seriously? Chinese wives avoid cleaning? What a bunch of... Oh, they sound like American women. What the fuck?
Filipino wife doubles as a housekeeper. Another user wrote, hello, handsome. Finding your video feels like fate. I'm from Yangjiang. Can you introduce Filipino girls to my sons? Both are unmarried. Other comments included, the bride price for a Filipino wife is around 10,000 yuan. Only the paperwork costs are high. And, hello, handsome. I'm from Huazhou. Can you introduce someone? My brother is 34 and still single. Another user praised, Filipino girls are more considerate than Chinese girls. They're tidy, diligent, and attractive. I recommend finding a wife in the Philippines.
All right, let me stop it right there. I guess I'm glad I never went for the Chinese girls, because if somebody does that, if I'm living with somebody, they do that to me, I'm the type of person, I will get on their face. I will get on their face like, yo, you need to get up and do something. I will get on their face. I'm not soft like that, bro. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of these Chinese girls, get away with this, because maybe the Chinese men are not hard enough on them, but I am. I freaking get on their face. I lose patience really fast. Anyways.
In recent years, Chinese social media discussions about rural men marrying foreign brides have intensified. A growing gender imbalance in rural areas with more single men drives this trend. Women from Vietnam and the Philippines are increasingly viewed as a solution to this social challenge. Young people in mainland China face intense economic pressures, and marriage often requires a costly bride price, a house, and a car. Many young men, especially those born in the 1980s and 1990s, find marriage unattainable and express skepticism about love. A vlogger explained that unlike China's demands for a high bride price, a house, and a car, marrying a Filipino bride is straightforward. If she likes you, a meal, a ring, and a pass are enough to get married. This contrast makes Filipino brides highly appealing to single Chinese men. A vlogger showcased several Filipino wives living in her village.
Whoa,
guys, look who showed up at our shop tonight. These friends are all from the Philippines. So how many of you are Filipino? 1, 2, 3, 4? Okay, 4 of them. But maybe they don't speak much Chinese. Anyone here who speaks Chinese?
She knows a little bit, just a little. I married a Filipino gal, and we're living out in the countryside. She keeps saying it's boring at our place. Same old, nothing going on. But isn't that just rural life? She says she's not happy, but we've been here for decades, making our own joy. You've got to find happiness in the countryside too, right? So I take her shopping to perk her up. A Chinese vlogger has issued a reminder, warning men who are rushing to the Philippines in search of wives to be cautious, as the reality is far more complex.
All right, let me stop it right there. And I want to end the video by saying this. I think Filipinos are going to conquer the world. Hear me out, because American men European men, Asian men, Japanese men, Korean men, Chinese men, now they're all going to the Philippines to find Filipino wives. So there's gonna be a lot of Filipinas reproducing. They're gonna have a legacy, bro. So I think Filipina women, they're becoming more and more popular every year. Thanks to the internet. There's gonna be a lot of competition, to get Filipino wives. And right now there's a lot of them, right? It's a lot of them. But I think in the future it might get to the point where like there's so many, men going to the Philippines just for that the Filipino government is gonna have to like put some restrictions. All right. But anyways, I myself, thank God that I have found my lady in the Philippines. So guys, if you want a Filipina, get on that shit right now because the Chinese men are gonna be competing with you. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification. Guys, if you want to support this channel, go ahead and check out my Ko-fi at ko-fi.com/AndyMatrix. Support your boy. YouTube has become very difficult, with monetization and promoting, with the algorithm. It'll be great if you guys donate and support this channel. Thank you very much. I highly appreciate it. And if I get enough donations, I might start making content in the back office, similar to Patreon, right? So subscribe to the channel. It's your boy Andy Matrix, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Godspeed.